How long do you plan to stay in this house? Seriously. You serve no purpose, and besides, you're ugly. It's embarrassing. Why don't you just move out already? The movers are coming soon.
My husband and mother-in-law throw words at each other like it's second nature. And once they start, they just can't stop.
At least this house will finally have some peace. It's been unbearable since you arrived. My mother is right. Why on earth did I marry someone like you?
My husband lets out a loud sigh, as if to emphasize his point.
Are you even listening? This is about you. Yes.
After that, they continue to hurl insults at me, the kind of thoughts that are too harsh to put into words. If I continue to stay with these two, my heart will shatter into pieces. I left my in-laws' house, practically forced out. Then, 2 weeks later, I received an unbelievable number of missed calls from my husband.
Didn't you say your salary was $1,400? I don't recall ever saying that.
My husband had a massive misunderstanding. And he must have realized how utterly foolish it was to try to kick me out. My name is Everly, and I work at a securities company at the age of 46. I have a husband, but we don't have any children. In fact, I married my husband Remington just 3 years ago. Because I got married at this age, it wasn't straightforward.
We're both over 40, don't you think we can do without greeting each other's families? It's not that simple. Do you think so? Yes. We're going to visit each other's families this weekend.
I had been all about work up until this age. I wasn't really interested in marriage, but I decided to get married with the thought that maybe it's okay to get married once before I die.
Welcome. Are you the one? Yeah, this is Everly, and we're thinking about getting married. I see. Nice to meet you. Please take care of me.
My first impression of her wasn't very good. Just a brief greeting at the doorstep, and I could tell she was sizing me up as if I were beneath her.
So, when are you planning to get married? We're thinking of registering our marriage next month. What about your parents, Everly? Both of my parents have passed away. I see, that's unfortunate.
Thanks to my job, I had become somewhat adept at discerning whether people were speaking sincerely. Unsurprisingly, my mother-in-law wasn't speaking from the heart.
Anyway, I just came to introduce her today, so we should be going. Sorry for the intrusion.
As I was about to leave, she suddenly grabbed my arm.
What is it? Take care of my son, okay? Yes.
Her grip was strong, almost as if she was saying, "Don't you dare take my son away from me." It was at that moment, instinctively, that I knew I shouldn't get too involved with this woman.
See, the introduction wasn't a big deal, right? Yeah, right.
My husband was divorced twice. The reason I chose someone like him was that he didn't interfere more than necessary. Being with him was easy and comfortable. However, after getting married, the situation would change at the speed of light.
Tomorrow, I'll go and submit the marriage registration. Thank you, that's a great help.
The next day, after we officially became a couple, I came home and noticed a pair of unfamiliar shoes at the entrance. Nervously entering the living room.
Ah, welcome home, Everly. Oh, your mother is here. I just happened to be nearby, and there's something important to discuss today.
The moment I heard those words, I couldn't help but have a bad feeling.
So, what's this important thing?
My husband answered.
We're officially married now, so we can live together, right? Huh?
At first, I didn't understand what my husband was saying. It felt like I had stumbled into a maze of confusion.
What does that mean? Of course, it means we'll live with Mom. Didn't I tell you? I've never heard such a thing. My bad, but I'm telling you now.
I shifted my gaze to my mother-in-law. She was looking at me with a smile that could rival that of a witch. As if she had seen through everything, my mother-in-law said,
Everly, please take care of things.
She said this and left immediately. I immediately confronted my husband.
Could you please explain what's going on? Okay, don't be so angry. And by living together, do you mean here? Oh no, not here. At my parents' house. So, what happens to this house then? If that's the case, we can just terminate the lease.
I couldn't help but be amazed at my husband's point of view. But I couldn't find a way out of the current situation. The only solace was that I wasn't a housewife, I had a job. If I stayed out during the day, I thought I could minimize face-to-face encounters.
Even if I concede to living together, it's going to be challenging for me to handle all the housework while I'm working. Of course, I won't burden you with everything. Mom will help too. Is that really okay? Do you doubt me that much?
There was a moment when I wanted to argue, but I decided to bite my tongue and endure it. And so, cohabitation with my mother-in-law began in no time.
You've come back. I've been waiting. Again, please. Again? Everly, is something wrong? No, I'm just saying, starting today, please take care of me.
The cohabitation that followed was beyond my imagination. I had previously told my mother-in-law that I was working, and I thought she would understand.
Everly, you have to help with the housework, it's essential. Did you plan to boss around an old lady like me? No, it's just that Remington. Are you blaming Remington for this?
My mother-in-law refused to listen to me. With a job, it was impossible for me to do all the housework. That's why I had talked to my husband about it.
Hey, did you talk to your mom about it? Huh? About what? About the housework. I told you it's hard to do everything, didn't I? It might be tough, but you'll manage, right?
My husband's detached way of speaking about it made me snap.
Why are you saying that? Then help out yourself. Why should I do that? I'm the breadwinner of this house. What? Besides, you only make a measly $1,400 a month, even though you work every day, right?
I wondered where that number came from. I had mentioned once that I had earned that much through a commission, but I was too tired to correct him.
There's something I'd like to ask.
About a month into our cohabitation.
What would you like to ask? Well, it's about the remaining mortgage on this house.
It was indeed a standalone house in my in-laws' name. I learned they had purchased it with thoughts of their retirement.
Are you saying I have to pay for it? If that's the case, why don't you discuss it with my husband? What are you talking about? There's no way I can discuss that with him.
First of all, it would make sense to consult with my husband, who is her son. Why me? At this point, it seems like nothing more than harassment.
And you earn a pretty substantial amount, right? Huh? Did you hear that from my husband? I think so.
It seems there's a significant misunderstanding between my husband and my mother-in-law.
So, how much are we talking about? It's around $1,300 a month, and it will continue for another 10 years. So, I was wondering if you could help with this.
While $1,300 a month is not a small amount, it's not unaffordable either. However, I proposed a condition if I were to take over the payments.
In exchange for covering the payments, my condition is that my husband doesn't find out about it. That's not a big deal. Okay, starting from next month, please take care of it.
And so, I ended up taking over the loan payments on behalf of my mother-in-law. At the time, I had no idea that this incident would have a significant impact in the future. Afterward, we enjoyed a peaceful life for a while. Before I knew it, I had turned 46.
My mother's birthday is coming up. It might be a good idea to celebrate, don't you think? That sounds like a good idea, but I don't really know your mother's preferences. I'll handle that. Don't worry about it.
While my husband's strangely confident demeanor made me uneasy, I realized that there wasn't much I could do to help, so I left it to him. Then came the day of my mother-in-law's birthday.
Happy birthday, Mom. This is a birthday present from us. Thank you. What is it?
My mother-in-law opened a large box, and inside was a newborn Shiba Inu puppy. I was also surprised by my husband's choice, but I watched with anticipation, thinking she would be delighted. However, instead of showing joy, my mother-in-law froze when she saw the puppy. Her expression was as if she had turned into a statue, not moving a muscle.
Oh, Keely?
I involuntarily called out. She let out an ear-piercing scream.
What's going on here? Huh? But you said your mom likes dogs, right? What I like isn't dogs, it's cats. I've been scared of dogs since one bit me when I was a child.
I never expected things to turn out this way. I'm partly to blame for leaving it to my husband, but this was the worst outcome.
So, who came up with this idea? Remington, was it you?
My husband seemed to shrink back under her fierce tone, and he said something unbelievable.
What are you talking about? It wasn't me, it was Everly's choice. I even told her not to do it. What? Hold on, that was your decision.
After that, it was like living in hell.
You seemed quiet lately, but you were thinking of something like this. You're the worst daughter-in-law. Wait a minute. It wasn't me. I don't want to hear excuses. Just return it immediately.
With that, my mother-in-law locked herself in her room. An indescribable tension filled the room. I confronted my husband.
Why didn't you tell the truth? Well, Mom and you have been getting along well recently. What?
It's true that my relationship with my mother-in-law had improved recently, but not to the extent my husband was claiming.
Well, isn't that fine? You didn't really like Mom that much either. That's not the point. Take care of that dog somehow. I'm not good with dogs either.
I stood there in shock. So, my husband had set me up out of jealousy over my improved relationship with my mother-in-law. It was a resounding success. From that day on, my relationship with my mother-in-law deteriorated to the point of being irreparable.
Get out of the way, ugly. Huh? Why is such an ugly daughter-in-law in this house?
Since that day, they've been saying things like this every day. I raised my head and sighed deeply. And there was someone enjoying this situation.
She called you ugly again, huh? Well, it's the truth. Is that all you have to say? What's with that attitude?
Of course, there was no point in engaging with someone like this, so I chose to ignore them. I had been thinking about leaving this house someday. When I came home from work, my husband and mother-in-law had unusually big smiles on their faces.
You finally came back. Sit here for a moment.
I was urged to sit on the couch.
For starters, you need to leave this place tomorrow. What are you talking about? That's my line. Why do I have to leave? Are you serious?
I had completely forgotten. There was no point in arguing with these two.
Well, then, tell me the reason. There's no helping it. Go on, Imam, you can tell her.
My husband was filled with confidence.
Mom and I talked, and we decided that you don't contribute anything to this household anymore. Do you understand? Remington's right. Besides, you're ugly and worthless. That's right.
The two of them completely ignored me and laughed like maniacs. Then my husband continued.
Well, it would be too cruel to ask you to leave today, so how about leaving tomorrow? Is that all right, Mom? Yes, that sounds reasonable. Camping out would be too harsh, after all.
At that moment, I felt absolutely nothing for the two of them. Watching them made me acutely aware of how ordinary I had been.
Also, tonight, sleep on the sofa, okay?
I didn't bother to respond. And the next day, I was packing my belongings for the move.
How long are you planning to squat in this house? Seriously, you have no value here, and besides, you're ugly. It's embarrassing. So, hurry up and move, okay? I have movers coming today. Please don't rush me. What's with the attitude?
My husband and mother-in-law hurled words at me like they were taking a breath, and once they started, they wouldn't stop.
Now this house will finally be peaceful. Life became so difficult with you around. Mom's right. Why did I even marry someone like you?
My husband let out an exaggerated sigh as if he was trying to make a point.
Are you even listening? We're talking about you. Show some response. Yes.
From then on, they showered me with insults. They used derogatory words against my character and even went as far as to insult my parents and siblings. I can't believe I endured this kind of life for so long. I left my in-laws' home, essentially being chased out.
Sorry for the suddenness. I'll be out of your hair as soon as possible.
I visited my sister's house.
It's fine. You gave us the dog, after all. That's true.
The dog my husband brought to torment me was given to my sister's family. They were actually thinking of getting a dog, so they were happy to take it in.
But they're really terrible people. They just misjudged me. But have you thought about what you'll do next? Of course. I won't let things end like this.
I stayed at my sister's place for about 2 weeks, and I had found a new place to live. I was getting ready to move when something happened on this day. I had been busy since the morning and hadn't checked my phone at all. Then, I noticed an unbelievable number of missed calls from my husband.
Hello? What's up? Didn't you say your salary was $1,400? What? Where did that come from? I don't remember saying that. I thought so, but I saw it in your bank book because it was at home.
Until now, my husband had been completely mistaken. And now, it seemed he realized how foolish it was to try to kick me out.
So? Why didn't you tell me all this time? You were the one who had been mistakenly assuming things.
I decided to reveal more truth to my husband.
From now on, you can pay the mortgage for that house since I've been paying it. I haven't heard anything like that from Mom. Besides, what mortgage are you talking about? I was asked by your mother to help pay off the mortgage for that house. That can't be true. That house's mortgage has already been paid off. I see. What do you mean?
I hung up, but my husband immediately called again. I continued to ignore him, but it seemed he wasn't giving up. I couldn't help but think that his determination could be put to better use elsewhere.
Hey! Don't ignore me. I have no intention of getting involved with you financially. So, don't call me again. What does that mean?
I hung up on my husband in the middle of his sentence and couldn't help but laugh. I did wonder how my mother-in-law was doing, but I had no intention of reaching out to her. I'm not a saint. After that, I didn't receive any more calls from my husband. He was probably preoccupied with other matters. I was busy preparing for a divorce from him. Then, I received a call from someone who had no sense of timing.
I heard from Remington. Seems like you're making quite a bit of money, aren't you? You didn't know?
I replied with feigned innocence.
Remington told me you were making $1,400 a month. That's a misunderstanding. Also, about the mortgage, I heard it from my husband, but it seems it was a lie. Well, this is clear-cut fraud, you know, haha. Are you seriously considering this?
It seemed that my mother-in-law realized the situation was getting out of hand, so she became surprisingly assertive.
Of course. I'm going to sue you. That's a given, isn't it? I'm still your mother-in-law, for now at least. That won't last for much longer. I intend to divorce your son. So, I'll be sure to claim what's owed to me up until now. Do you really think it's okay to do something like that? Of course. Well, now you two can handle everything together.
I hung up the phone and set it to reject calls. This cut off any means of communication between us. I felt a sense of relief knowing that I wouldn't have to hear my husband and mother-in-law's banter anymore. A month later, the divorce was finalized. I had already begun a new life. Then, I noticed calls coming from a payphone, which was rather expected, but I decided to answer it just to see.
What's going on? The amount you requested from me is more than what you gave me. Oh, yeah. That's correct. They added extra compensation for deceiving me. What? You've got to be kidding.
I let out a big sigh. I couldn't help but wonder how delusional this person could be. And if I was getting a call from my mother-in-law?
I have to pay her compensation too. I can't live like this. I don't know anything about that. You reap what you sow. Besides, you're with your beloved mother, aren't you? Just a little, please. So, about the money. Enough. Don't contact me again, you scumbag.
My husband, who had run out of things to say, gently hung up the payphone receiver himself. By this point, even the most foolish person would understand. After that, I enjoyed life on my own. It was a terrible experience, but I had a taste of married life. Honestly, just thinking about that marriage life made me nauseous. But now, I'm firmly looking forward.